Hello, YouTube. Welcome on in. My name is Chris.
I'm Johnny.
We are your number one entrance for sports entertainment content here on YouTube. Back again, another episode of the podcast. It's been a little bit. Last one was Mania with Luke, so it's been a minute since we've recorded a podcast, but
Listen, we've been deep into the Batista Rey Mysterio lore.
God, you're
We're
immediately
trying to
bringing that
get
back, huh?
through. Well, listen, it's the follow-up episode.
You know
But
what it is.
hey,
You are right.
we're back and we're ready to talk a little AEW and
Yeah. Most
what's going on in the
probably
wrestling world.
Probably most of it's going to be AEW. We're going to talk a little bit about contracts because it's the season of expirations apparently across the industry.
Summer
And
heartbreaks. That's all it is.
well, old employees of the WWE that forgot to reach out about contracts until the last minute because that's exactly what happened.
There's a few that are kind of surprising too because their contracts end very soon.
Yep.
And some of them are in some major feuds, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it really shows. I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but
Chad Gable, I believe.
no, I'm talking the guy who was the head of contract reassignment.
Oh,
Because essentially, from my understanding of it, at least everything that I've read, is essentially like he just wasn't reaching out to people like with enough advance notice. So like that's why there was speculation of Drew leaving because his contract basically ran the time. That's why there was speculation that Becky was leaving because her contract is now up as of this recording. Her contract's been up for I think a week now.
That's fair, and we've done this we've done this in the past, and I'll go ahead and do it now. Guys, can you believe Becky signed with AEW?
There's not a chance.
God!
As much as I have been the guy, and anybody who hangs out with me knows this for a fact. I was the guy that when rumors of Edge going to AEW, I was like, it's happening. And I was fully convinced going into that pay-per-view that he was signing. He had already signed. Everything pointed to it. And I was fully ready for that heartbreak. This is one. I am in the boat. Becky will not leave. If anything, she will hang up the boots. But most likely, the assumption right now by most people that I've seen online is Seth is recovering from injury. Becky's contract just kind of faded out. She's leaving it open-ended because right now she's going to go be a mother and a wife because now all of them have time off together.
And they're going to go be parents.
And there's no obligation to come back because it's like Seth's on injury leave. Becky's contract just naturally ran out. It's like you can go actually raise, little baby Rue and, enjoy the human life as opposed to the celebrity life.
Because that's always been a thing back in the day. Is like wrestlers didn't really get enough time off, but now we live in an era where people get time off, and her contract expiring is again not the end of the world. Even if she does or doesn't resign, it's like she's probably happy because before the whole Rhea getting hurt thing, she was supposed to have time off. It's the biggest thing in the world, but
so it just kind of became like the healthy way to run it out, and it's not like it's not like there's no fucking money coming in because, like, obviously with her book out as well, that's definitely going to help a little bit of that as well, right? So
I will say this since on the topic of the book, it is on Spotify Premium because again you need Premium to listen to it. It is worth a listen. She goes into a deep dive of how her career went, the nasty bump she took that took her out of wrestling for 6+ years, and that fire was never gone and it was lit again and. She's the man now. So
I probably should listen to that as much as I'm horrible with audiobooks, honestly, because of the fact that I tweaked my knee training and I even had the thoughts of because it still hurts. Like every once in a while, my knee will act up and it's I know I need to work on re-strengthening it and just getting healthier in general with it. But it's one of those things of I can sympathize with the fire not being gone. Cause all this time I've had off, the one constant has been either between catching up on the weekly stuff, watching YouTube stuff, or now, even doing this with you. It's the passion is there so much. And even Maple said, I've never seen you this committed to something for this long, this consistently. So it's I've had nights where I've been running spots and bumps in my head of when I go back, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I want to do this? It's all in there still. It's just a matter of getting it in motion.
As someone who's watched enough wrestling and seen returns and interviews and yada yada yada, the biggest thing for wrestlers is some people are like, why don't they just retire? And you'll listen to them. It's like they'll always say, "What if? Like, can I? Or what if?" Or this is back when Copeland retired originally. He was asked, like, through everything, the injuries, everything that ever happened in wrestling, would you do it again? And he was like, in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
because that's what he always wanted to do. And like,
it's a really fun thing. As somebody who's done a little bit of the training of it, it's like it's definitely, it fucking hurts some days. And like honestly, the most I've messed myself up has been myself. I haven't actually been like, I'm literally training. I've been training with people, you know, I've trained with a handful of folks, you know, and it's been like some of them. I wrestled with a guy from France who's been doing this for like 8 years in terms of training and doing matches. I've trained with them. I've trained with guys like me who have done literally nothing. And it's like the worst I've ever hurt myself has been myself. Definitely been, you know, jacked up a little bit from some of the new guys, but you know, I definitely probably wasn't the lightest worker on them. I was probably stiffed a couple of lockups to them as well, but
it's a learning process. It's the biggest thing in the world.
It is. But yeah, the worst I ever messed myself up, the 2 worst I ever did was, I can't even think of what the move would be, but essentially the idea of like, if you're holding them by like a waist lock, and then the idea of literally just like suplexing back. So I guess it would be not really a German because they're not directly in front of you.
Suplex, basically.
Yeah, kind of like a back suplex. I messed myself up on that because I didn't move this arm in time. So I essentially just went, I'm going to drop this person on my arm now, and fell back on it.
Yeah, you're dropping X amount of weight with an X amount of force onto one arm, which, you know, it's not meant to be dropped on, so...
That, and then the first couple days I learned to run the ropes because I wasn't hitting them with a flat back, so I bruised all of my side here because those cables suck.
Yeah, that's also one thing people don't realize. They're ropes. Those are fucking cables.
Yeah, they're like full on like steel cables wrapped in stuff.
Yeah,
but ours were wrapped in tape, and I still bruised myself up.
Because it's like you're gonna need something that could take the weight of 200, 300, 400 pounds of weight. Leaning back and then just
it's steel cables on tension. It's it's not fun. And once you get good at it, it's so satisfying. My favorite thing to do is run the ropes. I love it.
Yeah, you run with explosiveness or you're running with passion. It's like it's just the funnest thing to see. Speaking of someone who kind of loves to run the ropes, it depends. We need to talk about these contracts a little bit. So we just were, of course. But one person who I think we're both aware of his contract is expiring is one Ricky Starks, because Ricky hasn't been on TV for quite a period of time.
Yeah, he sure hasn't. Tony Khan doesn't know how to book, man. Like, I know we say this every time, but like, you have so many good young talent that could be like, you know, the lifers of this company, the way that like, you know, Seth and Roman were, you know, 20 plus years ago at this point. And you're like, okay, Jericho. No, Jericho was the face of the company 20 years ago. He should not be the face of the company 20 years later.
So, do you want to hear something interesting about this? Because I fucking love, the future should be televised. Ricky Starks.
Revolution is televised.
Yeah. Ricky Starks, this dates back to Revolution. Because Tony Khan was asked, what's up with Ricky? You know, he's on a contract. It seems like he's having disputes with it. Tony Khan was like, yeah, we would love to use Ricky. He's a great talent. He was, you know, here. He swapped the question basically like, yeah, he loves Sting. It's like, remember they had that match and everything. It is interesting because for those unaware, and it'd be interesting unaware unless you're finding this podcast for the first time, Tony Khan is the owner of AEW.
Yep.
He also books AEW.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, we'd love to have him. Okay, do it.
Yeah. It's like going to McDonald's and be like, I want a cheeseburger. We don't have those. It's like, yes, you do. You can make it. Yeah. Because he's right there. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of those things of like, the biggest flaw, there's a lot of flaws, don't get me wrong. I think the biggest flaw, as, you know, a well-established AEW mark in a lot of senses, their biggest flaw is they have a overbloated roster, which means even with 3 shows that are collectively about 6 hours of content a week, you don't have room for everyone.
No.
And it's like,
No.
it's all well and good if you have some people that would prefer to be on Ring of Honor or that work better in Ring of Honor and you want to put them on there. That's fine. That can't be the dumping grounds for those who don't want to be on there. And it's like, you're almost guaranteed you're going to lose Ricky. There's a pretty strong chance. I know Hook's already said when his contract's up, he's going to float the free agency a little bit.
Which makes sense. He's young. He can go anywhere he wants to.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing in the world.
And I think he would kill in NXT.
We're going to have to talk about that because NXT did just get a new signing.
Oh, no shit, eh?
Do you know who showed up in NXT?
Oh, yeah, Ethan Page showed up there recently, yeah?
Fucking Ethan Page, who I touted about, needed to leave and
all
is needed
ego,
to go
baby. I'm happy for him. I really am.
Ethan Page signed a fresh deal with NXT.
Yeah.
He's going right into Trick Williams. He's going to kill it. He was a star. And they just, again, this is another star that just walked because you weren't using him. He was like on TV for a good period of time. And he walked. This is also, again, these are talents that you were using and weighing heavily on during the pandemic time in wrestling. Like Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, who I believe Scorpio Sky is still hurt. He re-injured himself, right?
Yeah, he was injured. He came back. He was ready to feud for the TNT title against Wardlow, and that's when it was during the Meaty Men Hot Potato Nightmare that belt went through. And then Scorpio got hurt again. So now he was out again. I don't know what his current status is. I'll look that up.
Okay, you can look that up. Yeah, Scorpio Sky, another talent that I think could strive elsewhere. Who else is a talent? This is an interesting one because I don't see them going anywhere. Penta, his contract.
He was the other one I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So after you look up Scorpio, we can go into Penta because
this is not a good website for this. Hold on.
That's another special talent. He's deserving of, I would say, a singles push because if Phoenix can get one, I think Penta can get one, and that's not talking down to Phoenix. That's talking up of how good Penta is, how good he can be, and just his overall just wrestling right in the ring, and then Zero Miedo, it's the best thing about him.
And the other big thing as well, though, is you got Pac back, which means Death Triangle is 100% a thing.
Death Triangle is back.
And I think
Pac is back.
And I think they're starting to sprinkle that in. So, context, this is recorded the 8th of June.
Yes.
I haven't watched this week's Dynamite or this week's Collision or even last week's Collision because I've fallen horribly behind. But
we will catch up for Forbidden Door because we're going to talk about that as well.
Oh, yeah. So. But one of the big things with that was the last thing I watched was the Casino Gauntlet, that sudden death gauntlet they did where basically winner got a title shot at Strickland at Forbidden Door.
Mm-hmm.
And a good chunk of that match is Pac fighting Jay White. Juice comes in and messes some stuff up at one point. And it's like every time Jay and Pac have crossed paths, even if there's an overarching problem between them, they end up at odds. And it's like, I think realistically the smart thing to do is give Death Triangle the trios belts because they had them, because they were the ones that filled the gap post Brawl Out vacate.
This is true.
They were the first, I will say, they were essentially the first real trios champions because the Elite had them for 3 days before they were vacated.
3 days, but never actually defended them, of course.
Yeah. So to me, like while the title history will state this is, the inaugural champions were Kenny and the Bucks.
Yeah.
Death Triangle were the first. And even interesting enough, I think, now that I say it out loud, I think I know why they did the Unified. Because I remember when I was watching recently, they were talking about the fact that Excalibur mentioned that with the Bang Bang Gang winning both sets and unifying them, it creates a new lineage for the belts. I think part of the reason they're doing that is to kind of sweep the whole brawl out fiasco a little bit more under the rug of like,
Yes.
this doesn't, the old history of the belts doesn't matter as much. It's not something we really are going to recognize anymore. This is kind of the new beginning for them now that we have dealt with all of the fiascos that came from
I will
the
openly
Phil
agree
Brooks
to that.
era.
I think, as you said, like you said it perfectly. Where yes, Elite held them first time, but I don't think that title reign counts because
No.
again, it's 3 days.
It's 3 days in a vacate. The only fight they had was with Punk, and that was not an official match. So
Fair. I will say this in the same vein, and some people are gonna get upset about this just a little bit. Guys, Finn Balor didn't win the Universal title. He did, but he didn't defend it. I don't count it as a title reign. Every time I was like Universal Champion Finn Balor, I was like,
it's kind of crazy now that you think about it, right? It was literally the Elite versus CM Punk in a title for title match that ended in a draw somehow, and everyone lost their belts. Like that's essentially how it played out.
and then Phil came back. He's like, I'm the real world champion.
God, that was like, I think that could have been such a thing. It just wasn't. Like, I just didn't care.
Not Joe. I wouldn't say Joe carried that, but Joe did such a great job. Of, like,
Oh yeah,
all that
making
nonsense
that
happening
kind
in the
of
background.
actually, yeah.
And Joe was just like, "Fuck it, we're gonna go out and have a banger, and you're gonna get fired when you go back to Gorilla." And
Fun fact, actually, you have to give Samoa Joe credit for not just carrying that feud, but giving us the catalyst to the best feud and best storyline they ran over that kind of overarching year. Because do you remember who Joe fought before he got a shot at Punk? Actually in the Owen Hart, even before Wembley and all that.
That would have been Cole, right?
Roderick Strong.
That's
Because
right.
he muscle busted him onto the chair, which started the neck brace era.
That's correct. Yes,
If you don't have Joe doing that to try and get another shot at Punk in the Owen Hart, which then led to the whole Real Worlds thing, you don't get you don't get the best character work Roddy's done since joining the company in Ada.
I will always give the flowers. I give flowers to Roderick. He has killed it in AEW. Absolutely coming back from injury and then doing the whole neck injury storyline has been phenomenal. I will give Joe his flowers because again, everything he's done so far to me, probably outside of one little mark that I would mark off is the whole Ring of Honor championship. That still frustrates me. Because he's just like, fuck it, I don't want it anymore. And he dropped it.
Oh yeah, when he relinquished the TV title. Yeah.
After he beat Keith Lee, I was just like,
God, yeah, that
but
was dumb.
outside of that, Samoa Joe has killed it in AEW. It reminds me of TNA Joe, and that's like a good thing. I know when I say TNA, people are like, oh no. TNA Joe was fucking killing it.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially circling back to like Hook's contract, because like obviously they're running him with this whole Joe angle of like Joe is kind of mentoring him on how to be a monster, right?
Yeah,
and it's like it's really interesting that mutual respect that has been formed, especially considering the fact that like Hook put up a good match against Joe for that title when Joe was world champ.
Yeah, this beckons back to just again briefly a second ago. Joe will work with someone if they want to work. He will sell. He will make your suplexes look like they're the great. Not that Hook doesn't do a bad like suplex.
No, but a man that small doing a move like that to a man that big, the fact that Joe can make it look as effortless as it was is insane.
That is someone who likes the craft.
Oh yeah,
loves the craft. Loves. Again, workers is the biggest thing. If you're gonna go in there and half-ass it, Joe will tell, and he's like, "Fuck it, we're gonna 1, 2, 3 this, and we're moving on."
Yeah,
which makes me happy. I hope Joe sticks around for a little bit, but we might as well talk about the parent company he came from before this, just real quick, because me and Chris talked about this because it happened about maybe an hour and a half ago. It is being reported as of right now, again, June 8th, almost June 9th, it's late, that Ricochet, the current speed champion, we're not acknowledging.
No, actually, not current speed champion.
Did he lose the title?
Andrade beat him for it on Wednesday.
Okay, so I think that all but solidifies
Yeah, that really hammers home the.
Ricochet becoming a free agent, which I think I
I
wouldn't
think we
call
know
it a
where he's going.
I wouldn't call it a trade, but Stark's going WWE, Ricochet going to
Should go in
AEW.
AEW.
We get Osprey and Ricochet again,
Oh,
and I
I
think
hope we get Osprey Ricochet, dude. I really hope that he
there
goes, man.
there are moments where people are like, "This isn't wrestling; they're just doing flippy shit." Flippy shit in wrestling is fucking cool.
Yeah, it's great, man. That was part of the reason why I fell in love with Leo Rush in 4 minutes of spots in that gauntlet
Yeah,
match because Leo Rush is insane and
Leo
I adore
Rush,
him.
the black heart of wrestling.
Yeah.
Flowers to you, my friend, because you just kill it when you're in the ring. I know you've dealt with issues the past few years. We're not going to dive into that because that's a long story. But Leo Rush can reinvent himself so well, come with great characters. Just a great wrestler.
Yeah.
Who
So
else?
going through and just going to rattle off a bunch of names and then we can kind of one by one them. This is all according to Fightful through their reports on most of it.
Yes.
Contracts set to expire within the next couple of months, which is the bigger kicker. So
probably before SummerSlam in All Out or All In.
yeah, so June to August essentially from the WWE side of things. Chad Gable's set to expire as of yesterday, which this one is the really interesting one and the weird sticking point right now. And this is where a lot of it gets muddied with like Gable and Penta are the really interesting free agents right now because allegedly, and take everything I'm about to say with like a pound and a half of salt, there's a lot of who knows what going on. Gable has been presented an offer. Gable has not confirmed whether he's taken the offer or not. There are people there are friends of Gable who are supposedly trying to nudge him to talk to Tony and see how that's going. But Tony can't make an offer until the contract actually died, which would have been yesterday. So realistically, today is probably the first day that Tony Khan is allowed to legally approach him. However, on the flip side of that, allegedly what has been said is that there are claims that WWE is already talking to Penta while his contract is still active. So it's this weird thing of, is that part true and they're trying to snipe Penta? Or is this, who knows what, Tony Khan's a paranoid man in a lot of ways.
This is true. This is the interesting part, I would say, about Gable. Because, again, June 8th, we're specifying this. Next week is Clash of the Castle, if I remember correctly, right?
Maybe.
I believe that is next week. This is a big one. Because if that is within the next week or two, Gable's contract allegedly being up.
Yes, it's June 15th, so we have a week.
That throws a wrench in this plans because Gable's set to face Sammy for the IC title that day. So if he resigns, you might weigh towards more of Gable taking that title. But if he doesn't resign, I think Sammy wins Otis and the rest of
Alpha Academy.
Alpha Academy beats him up, yada yada yada. He goes and maybe signs with AEW, comes back months later to WWE. Who's to say? Is the biggest thing. Penta, on the other hand, it's hard to see him walk, mostly because of Phoenix being with the company.
His
I think
actual biological brother. Yeah,
his actual biological brother. I think he loves teaming with him. Of course, why wouldn't you? It's family. It's wrestling. It's this.
And especially from like a luchador perspective, it's like everybody like it seems like luchadors more often than non-masked wrestlers, due to the tradition and the history of luchador wrestling, that shit stays thick as thieves with family forever.
Yeah. So it is up in the air, but I think if I had to take a guess, and this is just pure speculation, I think both stay with the parent companies. I think Penta resigns. I think Gable resigns. Yeah. I wouldn't hate if Gable jump ship is the biggest thing. It has been talked about for a long time. It's like he deserves to go fucking be the wrestling machine he is in another company. But it's like Right now, he's kind of doing career work in WWE is the biggest
Yeah,
thing.
it
So
was
like,
kind of that weird part with Drew when his contract was close to up as well, where like everyone was like, he's gonna be it, he's gonna show up at Wembley, he's gonna be. It's like okay, but
Galloway is gonna make an
he's
appearance.
doing the best work of his career right now, just shit talking Phil Brooks.
Yeah.
Like, why would you leave when you're doing that?
And the fact that he gave Phil Punk an actual warning is like, hey, maybe don't show up in Scotland. You might actually get attacked. You might
Yeah.
actually get jumped. Is like, okay, yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Who else is on the docket
So
to
from
possibly?
WWE side, we have Gable, we have Ricochet. Obviously, we talked about that.
Mhm.
And then the other two that are set to have their contracts expire in June, not sure a specific date. Dijak, which
I could see
apparently,
him.
apparently, I can't remember who it was that actually, I might be able to find it. Allegedly, two of the guys that got let go, I can't remember their names, but they've been doing a lot of, they,
You're talking about Mason Mansoor, I
yes,
believe.
yeah, those two.
Yes.
They apparently have publicly, because obviously they're not with the company anymore, so they're kind of fair game to do what they want.
Yeah.
They have like publicly tweeted, I think either at Dijak or like in reference to Dijak, that
Mm.
he basically hasn't. They said to for him and Corbin to just straight up leave the company when they get the chance because of the fact that they basically haven't done essentially anything since being called to main roster.
This is true because Corbin did get called up, which I thought was weird. Braun deserved to get called up. I think Corbin could have stayed in NXT and kept working down there.
Yeah,
And again, key word of this entire podcast, the letter S for, suspicion, and the letter S again for speculation. I couldn't think of the word speculation, I'll be honest.
I could tell.
Yeah, is Dijak hasn't wrestled yet on the main roster because of this contract issue. If he
Yeah,
resigns, they'll debut him. If he doesn't resign, nothing is lost. Truly,
yeah.
no storylines, no matches, no merch. Nothing is truly lost.
Hmm.
But I think they're right. Uh, Brennan Williams, I believe is his name, the actual name for Mace. They deserve to walk because Dijak could show up in anywhere, probably any company, probably TNA. No offense, TNA is a good company, just run by idiots. Same thing with
Yeah,
Baron. Uh, Wrestling right now, and I understand like you can look at the whole WWE versus AEW like viewership bullshit. It's wrestling. It's not
yeah.
as popular as it was in the 90s or 2000s. Sorry. Um, they can go wherever they want. They can wrestle wherever they want. They don't have to sign contracts. Indie wrestling is fucking hot as it ever will be.
I'm gonna point to the god of what is it? Is it the god or the king of indie wrestling? Matt Cardona,
The
or
King.
yeah, I think he's a king. Where like he literally was like, I'm not signing with anybody. I'm not gonna lock myself down for a while, and he just jumped from indie show to indie show, and he was killing it. The
Yeah.
fact that he showed up for one fight against Copeland for the TNT title, and then just
Yeah.
disappeared again into the night,
Yeah.
and it's like, why not do it?
Because you're making enough money, and at the end of the day, he could probably realistically like, yeah, fine, I'll go back to WWE. Yeah, fine, I'll go to AEW. Yeah,
Yeah,
fine, I'll stay in TNA. I guarantee you those offers are there, but the only reason he's not taking it is he's making his own schedule. Is
yeah,
the biggest thing. It's like I can work Monday and Tuesday and not work for the next 3 weeks or
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, that was what Mox talked about, like Mox's decision to leave WWE
This is
and
true.
like go
Yeah,
back to the Indies and go do Japan was I can make my own schedule, and me
yeah,
and Renee can have time off together, which is the
this
biggest
is
thing.
true. I will say my favorite part, and then again, this is another book recommendation. Moxley has a book. Go listen to that. It's more heartbreaking than Becky's is, just a little bit, because he talks about our he talks about the Dark Order. I'm just gonna say that he talks about the Dark Order. He was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to Japan. Fuck it, I'm going to Japan." Like he mentions this in the book, and it got to a point where Renee's like, "Fine, do it, go." This is near the latter end of his WWE contract because he's like, "I want to, go to Japan and go to Japan." And he finally did, and he's like, he worked, I think, a 30-minute match and like a 45-minute match, and he says those are the two matches in the last like 6 years that have meant more to me than anything else
So,
because he was back wrestling is the
yeah,
biggest thing.
Yeah, it's always that fun argument, right? And probably one of the best angles they ever ran involving Jericho, right, was sports entertainment versus pro wrestling, right? Because they
Yeah.
are two very different things in that sense.
You'll have weird, fucked up finishes or whatever, but Mox going to Japan, he's like, you're gonna be bumping your ass off for 30 minutes, and then one paradigm to or like a paradigm shift later, boop boop boop, we're done, and
Yeah,
that's it. That's wrestling. There's no
yeah.
gimmicks involved.
You're gonna take 85 chops, and then someone's gonna put like 45 like kebab skewers in your skull, and then the match will start.
Man, I'm like a fucking unicorn. And I'm
Yeah,
just like,
God.
oh
I
Jesus.
all the credit in the world to Mox, and Danielson said it best recently in an interview. There will never be another John Moxley. I will do a lot of things, like from a very beginning training perspective, looking inwards. Like I watch spots, and I'm looking at them. It's so fun because I look at it in three ways now. Like when I first started watching wrestling, I looked at it as this is fun to watch. Now
This
I
is
look
entertaining.
And now I look at it as three ways. I go, this is fun to watch. I think this is how they do it. I don't want to do this one. Like I look at like, how does it like, do I enjoy it? Do I think I know how it is performed?
Yeah.
And do I see myself doing this? And anytime Moxley pulls out those fucking skewers, I go, nope.
Nope, nope, nope.
You could give me ownership of AEW, and I probably would not take the fucking skewers to the skull.
Yeah, because
Not a
again,
chance.
helping is dangerous. And before we transition from one leather bound crazy man to another, if you guys like recommendations for music, movies, or sandwiches, that's also another telling point for the Moxley book. Because this man's okay. I'm just gonna say this. Becky Lynch's book, ABCDE. Like that's how the book goes.
Yeah.
Mox is like AFW3Z. I'm just like, where is this book going? Because he's like, oh yeah, we're debuting with the Shield. I'm so excited. Next chapter, I'm doing cocaine in Mexico. I'm like, what is this? What is this jump around? He's like, all right, next chapter, the perfect Wawa sandwich. Here's how you make it. I'm just like,
Guaranteed, I know how this went. Guaranteed, Becky was like, I want to write a book. And WWE was like, that's great. We'll hook you up with a couple of the writers or like people we know and connections to it. We will basically have somebody like, collect all your thoughts and then help you organize them and all that. And Mox went, hey, Tony, give me someone to write down my stream of consciousness. And then every day on the road for 6 months, Mox just spoke the book into existence.
you wanna know something interesting about that though?
Uh,
There's a chapter in the book where he's talking about writing the book and having issues with his Mac as he's writing the book, as he's sitting at his fucking coffee
it's
table.
such
And
a
I'm like,
Mox. It's such Mox shit to do.
And here's the thing though. I love Becky Lynch's book is good. Mox's book is so left field. I fucking love it and would recommend it more every single day of the week.
Oh, that's funny.
Because he's like, tunes, listen to this. It's like from this movie, and I'm like, whatever. Also, there's moments, and I think you'll appreciate this. Because there's these different segments, and there's one segment that keeps repeating in the book. And he says this in the deadest tone each time. Jokes Claudio has told me, and then he'll tell the joke in the book, and I'm like,
oh man,
this is the greatest book I've ever listened to.
That to me shows how much like what we see of Mox now is who Mox is when there's no one around.
Yeah, it's like I love this so much. This is
God.
This is why I've loved Mox for like the longest time, and that love just deepened after listening to that book.
That's so funny.
I will say though. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No. I'm transitioning.
Okay.
You're
we have one more interesting name in terms of contracts that I want to bring up.
Oh.
Mostly because, so if I'm not mistaken, everything that I have seen online, WWE possesses a no-compete clause should you be fired or should you ask for your release.
Mm-hmm.
This does not apply if your contract naturally expires and you choose not to re-sign.
Like it rolls over and you're free of
because
charge.
obviously at that point they have no ties to you. There is no pending whatever. Because that's what people were losing their mind about with Becky was like they were like theoretically she could have been on the Collision after her contract ended,
Like
and
the
there would have
next day,
been
she's just there.
yeah. Now, the last name from WWE that is set to expire sometime in June is Natalia. Now, the reason this is interesting to me is because of who she's related to. And because of what tournament is being run in the opposite company come late June, early July.
I don't hate this idea.
I don't either.
So, I don't hate this idea. Natty is okay. People give Natty a lot of shit. I will openly say this now. She's always a good wrestler. It's in her name. It's in her blood. She's always been a good wrestler. WWE again is WWE, where you're gonna do stupid gimmicks. You can do very idiotic stuff. Natty, at the end of the day, if you need her to go out there and have like a match with someone, Natty is that person. The best example of this is take Natty and put her out there against. This is nothing against the two different. They're just two different wrestlers. Have Natty wrestle Bailey, and then have Natty wrestle Io. The difference is you're gonna get a good match if she wrestles Bailey. If you let her go out there and go, she's gonna have a great match with Io.
Yeah.
For those, some people are unaware of this. Before Natty signed with WWE, she was in Stardom. She knows how to wrestle in Japan, which means she knows how to wrestle outside of the WWE style of wrestling. Is a big thing.
Yeah.
Bailey also was on the Indies, but that was never like a big like indie.
Yeah, but like Japan versus WWE, like pro wrestling sports entertainment, that is the kicker always, right?
So like, if Natty does leave, and again, I like if she's a lifer, she's a lifer. If she leaves, I'm not gonna be mad. She deserves to go out in a good style of fashion.
And I think it would be so good. So, for those that are not fully enraptured in all of this, Natalia is a descendant of the Hart family. I believe she is. I cannot remember who she's related to.
Her dad is Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Thank you. Because, yeah, it's, I believe, Stu Hart is her. No, is it Stu or Owen that was her grandfather?
Stu Hart would be her grandfather.
Stu Hart is her grandfather.
Jim is related to Brett's, because Jim is Brett's brother.
Okay.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, now I gotta look up the fucking Hart family.
Hart family.
Hart wrestling family. Okay.
Would you believe it's not as deep as the NOI family?
I would hope not. Oh, there's an easy way to look at this. Hold on. Because.
Okay, so. Okay, this doesn't help. This is confusing.
Okay, hold on.
So you've got a better family tree than me.
So Stu Hart is essentially, for the sake of the lineage of Hart wrestling, Stu Hart is the patriarch of that family. He is the OG. And then you've got this. Okay, sons and daughters of Stu and Helen. Smith Stewart, Bruce Ambrose Edwards. Okay, hold on. Where are the Harts that we know? Hold on. Okay, you have Owen. Owen is their direct descendant in that.
Yes. Oh, the Brett. I know for certain Brett and Owen were brothers. Is the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how it goes. So yeah, Ellie Hart had 3 daughters with her husband Jim Neidhart. Natalia is one of them.
Gotcha.
So she is tied in through Jim, who's tied in through further up in the family. So I think it's essentially, she is in-lawed in, essentially, because Jim is in-lawed to Ellie, who is part of the family. Anyway,
gotcha.
So now the interesting thing, Stu Hart ran what was known as the Hart Dungeon, which was a wrestling school way back in the day that was ran out of the basement of their house, which their house was a refurbished crematorium.
It was. This is true.
Yeah. And it is now currently actually the house is a museum in town. You can go see this.
You would have the possibility of visiting it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure it's the biggest.
Not to like hard dox myself. I live in the same town as the Hearts.
Yeah.
And so, but the interesting thing was, so all of the stories that have ever come out of the Heart Dungeon are insane. Jericho actually trained in the Heart Dungeon. He's billed from Winnipeg, but he trained in Calgary.
He did. This is true.
But like the stories he told of like day one, they would grab your legs like a wheelbarrow and you would like army crawl through gravel in their basement. It was insane.
Jesus, sorry.
Oh yeah, dude, it was insane. Like some of the stuff they did was insane. But Natalia, very interestingly, she was the only female to ever train in the Heart Dungeon because she wanted to get into the business. And Stu loved all of his granddaughters. And she's talked about this before. Like Stu adored all of the grandchildren. And when Natalia was like, I want to train, like Stu would allow her down there even before she started training. But then when she wanted to train, she basically proved like, I'm tougher than half the guys that you bring into the school because they don't want to deal with this stuff. Let me train. Yeah. And Stu was like, okay. So the reason why this is all interesting is because, again, her contract ends sometime in June. Because if it just naturally rolls over, she's free to go to any company ever, anywhere. AEW is running an Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament, which means she could theoretically be booked in as like a wild card in the tournament.
Yeah, because I believe they run wild cards.
They've done them in the past, yeah. So they've I don't know if they did one last year. I can't remember. But I know the first year they had like a wild card in the tournament where like no one knew who it was until their music hit.
Yeah, that was two were Maki Ito and Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm. So that idea could resurface again on the idea of like, yeah, we're going to have a wild card in one and a wild card in the other. And you could theoretically debut someone, I think at this point, one of, if not the only active Heart wrestling.
Teddy? I don't know if Teddy.
Teddy might still be wrestling, but
you don't traditionally someone of I don't want to be mean to Teddy. A good talented wrestler from the Hart family wrestling. Sorry, Teddy.
Yeah. So it's one of those things of like you could theoretically debut her in the tournament that is dedicated to part of her family.
And I guarantee you, like her contract expires, she's not gonna say no. That's the biggest thing in the world. She does not say no. Mm-hmm. Even if she hypothetically loses, she doesn't say no. That's family. That's lineage. That is Owen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But yeah, that is one of the interesting Hail Marys. But I mean, I guess talking about that tournament, the big bombshell they dropped this year, which I love, is winners from tournaments get main championship title shots at Wembley. So effectively making not the money in the bank, but the idea of like, I guess best equivalent would be like Elimination Chamber, where like you kind of punch your ticket to Wembley.
Yeah. I will say this, and this is a comparison that I think is stupid because wrestling is a lot of copy from everything else. It's the biggest thing in the world. People are comparing this to the recent King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring series, like because the King of the Queen of the Ring get title matches. This is not a new idea.
No, it's never been a new idea.
It's never been a new idea where if you win something, you get a title shot. Tournaments happen all the time. They're the same stakes. You're just giving them different names. This is not to belittle King of the Ring. This is not to belittle the Owen Hart Cup. But the stakes like this have always been a thing. It's the biggest thing in the world.
Grand example, the fact that literally AEW went, oh yeah, the Continental Classic, i.e. the G1 Climax.
Yeah.
It's a thing that happens.
Or again, running a battle royal and the winner gets a title shot. The Royal Rumble is the same thing. The casino battle royal, or the poker chip ladder match is that MJF could cash in whenever. It's a Money in the Bank briefcase with a different name. Yeah, like the same thing happened in TNA, the X Division, the fucking X that would hang above the ring. You get an X Division title shot. You're allowed to copy ideas if they're good ideas. It's not stealing. It's not.
And you're allowed to copy ideas if they're bad, i.e. the Reverse Royal Rumble.
Fucking TNA. Fuck off.
I knew I could get you.
Fuck that. You, Eric Bischoff. All right. Fuck you. You ran WCW in the ground. Also Hulk Hogan, but brother, yada yada yada. Speaking of someone who
But how
had
many different matches
matches,
can we put on a stick?
I don't know, Chris. Do you want to do a Viagra on a pole match? That's been done before.
God,
Shout out to you, Billy Kidman.
I can't
You're
wait
out
for.
there
I can't wait
somewhere.
for. I would not have been surprised if you had told me that TNA had a pole on a pole match.
There's been a lot of pole on pole matches. I will say this. We'll transition to something else. Do you want to hear one of the dumbest pole matches or whatever?
Absolutely.
This was WCW. This was Booker T versus someone, and there's like little crates hanging above the ring, and it was a fucking world title match. The
Oh, I've heard about this,
WCW
and there was,
world title
and they're
defended
supposed,
in a.
yeah, and like something went wrong, right? And they had to like be like, oh yeah, the title was in the box the whole time, or like something fucked up, right?
Yeah, and basically the biggest thing is the title just falls out of the box, and Booker T looks down and he's like, "Fucking hate it here," and he's like, "Yeah, world champion."
Yeah, I've heard about this. That's how I
But
knew
this,
about that's how I knew about the on a pole matches, because I watched a video like way back that was like a ranked list of like some of the worst matches they ever ran in TNA.
yeah. So
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
again, I don't ever want to be in these two individuals' good graces because I've heard they're not really good people anymore. Hey, Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff, thanks for ruining wrestling, buddies. Appreciate it.
There was another one that was like both wrestlers were like legit blindfolded, and like they didn't, or they had like a full like black bag over their head, and like no one knew what the fuck was going on, and they didn't take them off.
It's TNA.
Yep.
That's Vince Russo.
Yeah, there's a level of creativity that's great in wrestling, and then you have stuff like that, or like the Mimosa Mayhem.
I forgot about the moment.
I've never seen the match. I will never forget about the fact that Jericho pitched the idea of fighting Orange Cassidy, where the objective was throw them into a vat of champagne, for the fact that orange juice and champagne makes a mimosa.
So
The most like Hail Mary concept in the world.
that entire storyline is such a mess because, hey, you gamers love circling it back. They did a debate. Orange Cassidy debating Chris Jericho. I was like, haha, Chris Jericho's debating the guy that doesn't talk. Do you want to know who was the not the voice of reason, like the what are they called? The person who like keeps the debate going or
Oh,
whatever.
like a master of ceremonies kind of vibe.
The
Or
master,
like
the moderator.
Yeah.
You know who the fucking moderator was?
Huh.
Fuck you again, Eric Bischoff.
Of course.
I could go on for like an hour just about shit Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo did in the 90s. Number 1, sign Hulk Hogan. 2 through 10. It's a list. Specifically, here's the thing. I love wrestling. I think wrestlers should be given creative control over their characters. Don't give them creative control over booking. They're going to book themselves to win.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think you can book like absolutely, creative control over the character, and give him creative control of the spots in a match. Don't give him creative control of the outcome.
No.
That's why like the indies is kind of crazy with that. So like pull back the curtain a little bit. The couple of indie shows that I went to when I was training, because like we would help, we basically would volunteer to go help set up the rings and whatnot, as a way to kind of give us exposure of like, we're paying our dues before we're actually ready to wrestle. And then when we were ready, basically the coaches would, get us in contact with the actual, like the booker.
Yeah.
But so we finished setting everything up and they're like, yeah, you're free to watch, right? Like, hang out. Some of the guys would usually volunteer, or like we were told, like if they ever needed help with like security or like tickets or anything like that, volunteer for it. They were well staffed that night. And I'm literally sat there and we're waiting for doors to open for everyone to come in. And I see the guy who runs the promotion walking up to all the wrestlers coming in with just like a loose leaf notepad, and he's just written down all of the names of the people that are there, or like the matches he had, and I could see a couple of names crossed out of people that couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And then like rewritten those down. But he just rolled up and basically like, at least in terms of what he would presented while we were like nearby, he didn't tell them who was winning or losing, because of the fact that like there weren't stakes to it, because that's the tough part with indie shows. right, is like you don't have necessarily a consistent roster. You have who's available the night of the show and who's looking to work. So
Because
like
I feel like no, go ahead, go ahead. I'm
there were
interrupting.
a couple that I think were planned because there was definitely the last match of the night ended in, I think the last match or the second to last match of the night ended in a no DQ that forced a title shot at the next event.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way the stip worked, basically, like if there was any interference from anybody, it messed things up for the current champion, kind of thing. That it
Yeah.
forced him to basically, like, I think it was supposed to be like an eliminator thing. So
Mm-hmm.
like if the challenger won, he got a title shot. But then like one of the champions like allies came and like messed it up, and then by like, you know, owner regulation of like, hey, you fucked up. Now you've guaranteed him that title shot, kind of thing. But like
Yeah.
all the in between matches, they were like, cool, you get 10 minutes. Here's your opponent. Figure it out. And he just walked away. And then I just watched a bunch of them like in the ring trying to sort out their spots.
Because I was about to say, I feel like if it doesn't really matter, like as you're saying, I feel like you'd be like, you know, like Steve, let's say Stephen Tom. Stephen Tom talks like, hey, do you want to go over tonight, or do you want me to go over tonight? And
That was
then
what
you go
happened.
from, yeah, it's
That
like you
was
go from there.
It was exactly what happened. So literally, it was a thing of like they got told who they were fighting, and then everybody got in the ring, or a bunch of them got in the ring, and they started working out spots that they wanted to do, and like figuring it out, and then being like, okay, we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and we'll go for this, we'll go for that. Coolest thing I saw that night. So the venue that we were in, from floor of the ring to roof was maybe 6.5 feet.
Oh my god! So
There
you're
was
talking
like
about
no room for high diving stuff like at all.
mm-hmm.
But the cool part was, so the roof was like that weird, like the segmented like board panel stuff that you can like slide out from like the tracks. And right
Yeah.
above where the ring got set up, there was one panel missing when we got in.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the guys who was like almost like 6'5" or something, like he was tall, like he maybe had maybe a foot clearance from top of his head to the roof when he was in the ring. His opponent was like, here's what we're going to do. He's like, you're going to grab me and you're going to put me in a vertical suplex, but swing me up and away so I can hook my feet into the roof so that you don't have to hold me as much. And then we can hold it for
Yeah.
longer. And I watched them try and muscle him up into that like 5 or 6 times. They finally figured it out. Match comes around, and sure enough, in just a moment, just funk, and they just hooked him there and held him. And we're talking like he's got him like barely holding his trunks and like flexing,
God.
just hooking his feet in. I'm like, that is the smartest shit in the world.
That is incredible. I will say,
Insane.
I think we should tackle these next two because they're kind of the same.
Hmm.
Chris, I know we're friends. I know we might be best friends, but what happens when best friends fall apart, Chris?
Chuck Taylor gets injured permanently, and Trent Beretta joins the Callis family.
And what else happens, Chris?
Statlander shatters Maple's hopes and joys as she slams Willow into the fucking ramp at the end of Willow's match against Mercedes at Double or Nothing.
So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about from both sides. We can cover probably the Mercedes one, not Mercedes, the Willow one more quickly. Willow Nightingale, Mercedes Moné, recent AEW signee, of course, had a match at Double or Nothing. It was a good match. I like the match.
I'm sad Willow lost.
I'm
still
sad
sad
Willow
of it.
lost. I have some issues. It bothers me this was Mercedes' first match, truly first match, because it was just like maybe she has 1 or 2 matches and then she like develops herself. Not that she's not just a bad talent, but it's like she's on TV wrestling. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's a good match. Mercedes does go over and wins. And for the past few months, it's been teased a little bit that Stokely is like getting in the head maybe of
Statlander.
Statlander Willow, and then we think, damn, there's always next time, Willow. There's always next time to come back and strong. You have friends beside you. You have family. Smash cut to Willow being slammed onto the ramp going upwards, and Statlander and Stokely are now, specifically Statlander. Stokely is a manager that can go either way. It doesn't really matter. Which is interesting because I thought this was going to happen, but I also thought it might go the other way. Run Willow as a heel, that might work. Stat as a heel might also work. I say might is because we don't we've never seen them as heels is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this. But this all starts at months prior.
Months prior, that fatal 4-way for title shot for the TBS
So
when Julia had it.
so Julia had it. We get some what would you call it? Mist, right? Mist.
Yeah, I believe there was mist in that match. I can't remember.
So there was mist where it hit Willow, and it hit Sky Blue. We thought it was going to turn both of them. Just turned Sky Blue. Willow continues to be a face, but Willow ends up going on to win the title. And do you think Chris is happy? You think this is my friend? They've reached the heights I've always wanted to reach for myself, and
We'll
did, but
reach
lost the
again, yeah.
title. Reached again, and you know she's supportive. She's nice. But if you watch closely, you see little seedlings being planted. It's like these things are happening. Willow's getting hit when she doesn't need to be, especially like against Mercedes Monet. So they finally turn heel. It's going to work, or it's hopefully going to work. But I think we're not ignoring, but someone else planted some seeds, I believe, and that would be the individual known as Trent, aka Trent Beretta, because Trent for a little bit was a little jealous of OC.
Yeah. I think a lot of
Um,
jealous with OC. And
well, it was for a bit. It was like a little bit of jealousy, and then it finally boiled over a point where like, I mean, there's a tag match, and Trent afterwards like pushed him down. He's like, I don't want to fucking deal with this, which is understandable. OC is a company man. Like he's been defending this title. He's winning. He's on TV. He's constantly being in a good state of I'm the best of the best friends, but it's not because he's like taking opportunities from others. He just was given an opportunity. He was running with it. When did this culminate? Do you remember?
uh it's been a little bit of time with that because it's been back and forth a little bit. It was post Dynasty, I believe, was kind of a lot of it because that was
yes.
because Daly's Place was kind of where a lot of that. Because I believe it was at Daly's Place parking lot on Rampage is when Chuck gets legit injured and end of his career. Like that's kind of like the apex of a lot of like the animosity with the best friends is like Trent had turned on Cassidy, I think like maybe
Like
one
a
or
few
2 weeks
prior.
before, a couple weeks before Dynasty. Then post Dynasty fights Chuck in Daly's Place.
Yeah, but I
They
will say
do a
OC
spot
did
that
hold back. That's the biggest thing.
And then they do a spot. I think it is the last thing that Trent does to him. Like the match is over and Cassidy's like, "Yeah, we're done, we're good." And Trent looks him dead in the face and just smashes the fucking like basically cracks Chuck's leg with something through a pane of glass. And I think that's the spot that basically did something that they're like, "Yeah, you cannot wrestle anymore.
You probably shouldn't be wrestling anymore."
It's
Which
not
is
shouldn't, it's you
well, no, that's what I'm.
cannot." Because
No,
like I think it's necrosis of the ankle bone is what he has or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Like
Okay. Well,
he's like out.
okay. I say shouldn't is because I say shouldn't because I don't want him to wrestle again. Because again, if it is a career-ending injury, don't wrestle again. I say shouldn't is because I don't want him to be like, I can still do this.
Yeah,
When it's an injury like that, you
it
shouldn't.
yeah, I guess the better way to phrase it is like you will be hard pressed to find any company that would medically clear you to do this anymore.
Yes.
With what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then allegedly Callis has been scouting Cassidy for a while, and that came to fruition last week, in which Callis offered him a contract, and then Cassidy ripped it up in his face. And then Stat came out with Stokely and went, "My friend will accept your offer." And then Beretta beat the shit out of Cassidy and then hugged Don Callis. So Callis family is really scary, despite the fact that we don't see most of them.
This is true because right now we're dealing with Hobbs, Fletcher,
Ospreay.
technically Will Ospreay. I say technically because that's an interesting placement. Takeshita,
And now
and Trent
Beretta.
Beretta now. And I would say outside, but kind of inside would be Chris. You know,
Yeah, loose
I would
association.
lose association with Chris.
And I would argue it'll be interesting to see what happens when Fletcher's tag partner comes back from injury.
Yes.
Like, are they going to immediately just go, welcome to the family? Or are they going to go, you've got to prove it. He's proved it. You have to prove it, which could be an interesting point. That'll be the interesting point. I think what I would love, realistically, I want one more person to join the Callis family. I don't know who, but I want one more person in the Callis family. And then I want Ospreay and Fletcher to hit a point of breaking when Fletcher's tag partner is back healthy, because then you can have 3-on-3 Callis family versus United Empire.
That would make me happy because I think United Empire deserves to be on TV more.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
if they're cleared is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because they are a pure athletic tag team, and it's not even close of like what they can do in the ring.
Who would you want to put as, like, if you were going to add one more to the Callis family right now?
To the Callis family?
Yeah, I'm going to go spy on the roster.
I could give you probably 3. I would say it's a would want to see, and then I think deserves to see.
Okay.
I think right now I would like to see, because this is the annoying part. I would like to see, but now he's with Jericho. I'm blanking on his name. He just joined Jericho.
Brian Keith or Big Bill?
Brian Keith. I would love to see Brian Keith. Brian Keith is now getting opportunities on TV, which makes me very happy.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see Brian Keith, and if they're going to bring in a female, I would like to see Deeb. Because, again, I feel like she's now gone again, which is the sad part. I think she's just gone again. And then, if we're going to introduce a tag team, hypothetically, I think they just got signed, and I think they got signed. They at least made an appearance. The Grizzled Young Veterans. I believe they just made an appearance on AEW.
Fair. Yeah.
Because, again, I think you always need enough men or enough individuals to have this be a family instead of just, like, relying on Ospreay and Takeshita to win, Hobbs to be, like, the big beefy guy that kind of whatever. And then however you're going to treat Trent is the biggest thing, because I don't know how that's going to go. I think it's going to go well. Trent Beretta in real life is a scumbag person, but I think Trent Beretta, the wrestler, is going to do okay.
Yeah. Just kind of scrolling through and looking at some of it. Couple of names that I think would be interesting. I don't know if they would necessarily go for it. And this is more just because I look at the Callis family, obviously within kayfabe, they are just a pack of heels run by an egotistical maniac. But I look at from an actual, like, company standpoint, the Callis family is how you highlight and elevate young talent who haven't really gotten the best shot of it so far.
I was going to say, if he wasn't already on there, Will Ospreay, because it's the fact you said elevate.
But, like, if you look at it, right, it's like Hobbs has had some okay feuds and some okay time, but he never really got a great push. Even when he was TNT champ, he didn't have a good push.
Yeah, no, that's a forgettable title reign. No offense to Hobbs. I love Hobbs. Forgettable title reign, though.
Yeah. And then you look at Takeshita, who, when he first debuted with AEW, they didn't do a lot with him at all, really. And now they've really brought him up as, like, a name to recognize and a name to care about. Fletcher is another one who I think since joining the family became ROH TV champ. Ospreay is just, I think Ospreay is the high level star power that helps bring everyone with him.
Yeah, and like Takeshita is what they're trying to make, and in a positive way, what they're trying to make.
And then Beretta, somebody who, you know, has very much always been a tag team dominant person that you now can possibly elevate as a singles wrestler with this new opportunity. So looking at that, it's like the guys that I would love to add to it, just for the sake of, if we're looking at an idea of we're going to add people to this that are going to get TV time and going to be elevated through association. Action Andretti, although he is tied to Top Flight, so you'd have to break that up. But Action Andretti is one for sure. There were a few others I saw in here. Hold on.
I like the idea of Action Andretti.
Andretti would be really fun in the Callis family, I think. I would hate for Garcia to be in there, but like if it gets him on TV, I'd love Garcia to be back. Fucking, what were the other ones I saw in here? Honestly, it's gonna sound weird. Johnny TV.
I don't hate it.
Here,
There's a lot of people that I'm like, no, I don't hate that.
and the other one, Kip Sabian.
Yes.
Because like those are all people that should be able to be seen.
Kip
in
Sabian,
some sentiment. Kip Sabian shows up when they have to do some big like trios battle royal thing that the Butcher and the Blade need a third partner for, and it sucks.
Here's the thing about Kip Sabian, and this is a positive thing. This is not a Kip Sabian is not a good worker. Kip Sabian for over a year showed up to work in a box on his head.
Yeah, and then when they finally took the bag off his head, he went crazy and talked to it for one match, and they dropped that gimmick entirely.
Yeah, I think if you take a wrestler who I don't think he was, I think near the end he was cleared, of course, but in the beginning wasn't cleared, and he was just like, "Fuck it, this is going to be me." He was taking pictures with fans, he was doing interactions, or he was sitting front row for like they were building towards something, but he's like still sitting front row doing nothing.
Yeah,
He put in work under a fucking box on his head. Give Kip Sabian something because Kip Sabian, hot take, but because he got hurt, hot take, Kip Sabian should have been a pillar. If he doesn't get hurt, I say he's a pillar.
Damn. All right. I can respect it. I very much respect it.
I think you could run him the same way you ran Guevara during that entire like push. Is the biggest thing. I believe that I will die on that hill a little bit. He would have been a pillar if he didn't get hurt.
Fair enough. But yeah, moving along on some of the things we want to talk about. Hey, somebody came back that I'm very happy about.
Do you need me to grab something for you, like a ring or maybe like a picture?
A dog collar belt, an oxygen tank from the longest Iron Man match they've had.
You know what?
A Burberry scarf.
Yeah, let's get fancy. Let's get some scarves. Let's talk about someone
I'm so fucking happy MJF is back, dude.
Who came back and said, "Fuck it, we're not doing pantsuit anymore. Get me that denim and fucking leather."
Oh my god, dude.
Maxwell Jacob Freeman showing back up. I would say out of left fucking field a little bit.
Yeah, honestly.
You know what? I'll leave this to you. You lay the scene for the people.
All right. I'm going to paint the scene here. It is December 30th, 2023. After a essentially year-long reign, MJF loses the belt to Samoa Joe. The next day is as what was believed and what was presented. December 31st of last year was allegedly MJF's last day under contract with AEW. He had pitched and spoke about the bidding war of 2024 for about 2 years on and off.
Yes.
Because he did that during his pipe bomb promo when he disappeared the first time. He mentioned a bit of it when he came back after the Devil Mask gimmick and the flop that was the Firm as a faction.
It was never a focal point in a lot of storylines, but if you were watching it week to week or month to month, you know, you were aware of MJF, you knew it would exist, is the biggest thing.
Now, allegedly, people speculated that sometime after the pipe bomb, a new deal was cut, more money was established, and a contract extension was signed then. And all of that time from when he came back with the Devil Mask and the Firm until the end of 2024 was 2023 was purely a work, and that he had already re-signed. But there was zero confirmation. There was no dirt sheets that brought up, yes, this is true, no, this is false. It sat in, I think, the most beautiful gray area kayfabe we've had in a while.
Very true.
That's the problem, right? Kayfabe is such a hard thing to juggle now with, you know, things like, you know, Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp. Much love to them and what they do, but it does pull back a lot of the curtains in the industry.
Yes. This is true. Also, we're better than them. I'm just saying. This is a joke. This is a joke.
Great. So a great example, to a slight pivot. I just watched this before we started. Rey Mysterio did an interview. I don't know when this was, but it was talking about him and Dominic. Because obviously in real life, they are, they don't hate each other's guts. Dom doesn't look at Rey as a deadbeat and wishes that Eddie was his father. Right?
Well, I would. I'm just saying.
Anyways. But Rey imparted some old school kayfabe into Dominic, in which he told him, like, when we are in a building together for wrestling, we stay away from each other. We don't hang out next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point that he looked at Dominic and went, if I'm out at a restaurant and you see me, do not address me.
Yeah. It's
and
living
Dom
the
would
gimmick.
do that. Yeah. You lived the gimmick. You lived in kayfabe. As much as obviously, like, hey, guess what? He didn't actually go to his father's house and beat the shit out of him on Christmas Eve with Rhea Ripley. And he didn't go to jail for that.
I think that would have been funny.
It would have been a curveball.
He would have been arrested for longer than like 2 days.
Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have come back 48 hours later and claimed that he did hard time. But,
Yeah,
But, kayfabe, it's one of those things of, like, there's so much of the backstage world that we shouldn't know that we do.
Yeah.
But MJF's contract status never being officially established until he walked out at fucking Double or Nothing was perfect, because he loses the belt end of December and we don't hear from him. We don't see a tweet from him. We barely even get a mention of him until about 4 months into the year.
Because he fucks off, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He fucks off. He leaves the internet. Yeah, he leaves wrestling. He leaves the internet.
Yep.
And unless you see him literally out in the wild, he doesn't exist, which is a good thing.
And the only things that we got from the end of last year until he walked out during that pay-per-view, we got, in total, we got one tweet of him calling out The Rock for wanting to buy a painting done by his ex-fiance during the Mama Rhodes feud at Mania 40.
True. Yeah.
We get that, and we get one statement from somebody in his company, or like within his, like, I guess, entourage. I can't think of a better word for it. That stated that
within his camp, I guess.
Yeah, within his camp, that stated that he was still recovering and asked for privacy due to personal matters.
Yeah.
That was it for almost 6 months.
Yeah, we didn't need to hear from him. That's not a bad thing. We just didn't need to hear from him, because unless he's going to be on TV, he's allowed to go out there and live his life.
Exactly. So then fast forward, Ospreay beats Roderick for the international title, which in that moment, before anything else happened in that pay-per-view, I went, they have killed any momentum the Undisputed Kingdom had. Because the only thing they had going for them in terms of on AEW television was Roderick had a belt. Yeah, Bennett and Taven have the ROH tag titles, but that's not an AEW title. That, unfortunately, doesn't matter too much on the week-to-week viewer for AEW.
No.
And then Adam Cole comes out, and he begins to bitch out the entire Undisputed Kingdom for basically dropping the ball.
And then he says, it's story time with Adam Cole, baby.
And then the lights go out. We get a shot of a panning shot through a hallway with a very familiar beat in the background. And I immediately started to freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then
because it was a very nice and POV
they're definitely, I think, pulling a little inspiration from a lot of these big panning shots that WWE is doing now. Because I think that making those moments cinematic like that is the perfect play. And you get that long walking shot. The room opens up, and there's photos of all of his main matches. You've got his poker chip from when he got to his title shot against Mox, the oxygen tank from the Iron Man match with Danielson, the collars from him and Punk's feud, the suit, the Burberry scarf. He pulls a diamond ring, and then he pulls out half a torn photo. And then he fucking walked out, which blew me the fuck away, because I was like, this is a hell of a tease. And then the music hits proper, and he walks out. in the Triple H 2002 return gear, basically.
Yeah. The biggest pop probably of Triple H's entire career.
And it's funny, he actually made a statement about that, and he was like, I chose to do that. He's like, I view the leather jacket as mine, but the jean jacket was an homage to a return that meant something to me when I was a kid, and that's why I did it. And he was actually kind of surprised how many people picked up on it, like, in the grand scheme of it, right? And yeah, and he came out, and he kicked Adam Cole square in the nuts, and then shit-talked that mask and everything it stood for, showed off the fact that he has an AEW tattoo on the back of his calf.
This is true.
And said that he ain't fucking leaving. And, I was so happy.
And then
I'm still so happy.
People give this line, I've seen people give this line a little bit of shit. I respect it.
I don't need a New Japan or a Vince McMahon to make me because MJF made MJF.
Yeah, I respect it.
I do too.
It is not like ho ho WWE. No, it is calling out the two other biggest company in the world, and it's like, I don't need you because this is self-made.
Yeah, which if you look, right, he is, for lack of a better term, he is essentially homegrown in AEW. Yeah. He was in the Indies until he signed with AEW, and now he is re-signed with AEW. Right, and allegedly in it for the long haul, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and again, I respect it because he put everything he wanted to put into this company, and he deserves the payday. I don't know how much it is, but everything he has touched,
from what I've understood,
I would say he has that golden touch, to where whatever he touches, turns into anything. Everything is greatness for them. Like Roosh specifically, who I imagine he's gonna be feuding with a little bit. That's gonna be golden. The match is gonna be fine. The promos have been great. I know I'm saying it's like the match is being fine is like a bad thing. The match is gonna be great, but it's just like I'm not worried about MJF. I don't have to worry about his segments on TV being bad because they're not going to be bad because he puts his heart into them. Other people,
he lives and breathes this shit.
He lives and breathes this shit. Other people will get more segments and then he'll drag it out. Not gonna name names. Fuck you, Chris
Jericho.
Like MJF's return is like very exciting to me. But I will say this though, a certain door is approaching, and what do we do with MJF once we hit Forbidden Door?
I almost think he's gonna fight Roosh at Forbidden Door. I think that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good like mid card. Like, hey, he's back. He's ready to wrestle. Let's give him a good chunk of time just to cook. But it's not gonna lead to any stakes. But it at least gets him back into everything.
I think, and I think this because I mean this. And there's going to be a lot of matches on that card that are going to be exciting and just exhilarating. I'm going to already put that in the top 3 matches of the night. Just because I think Roosh can go and he can go. And they both have something to prove.
Oh, yeah. Now, what I'm curious about with that, though, is how, like, because he talked in his return promo of, like, it's none of the goody-goody bullshit. I'm not trusting a single person out there other than myself anymore. And he was like... And one of the things that he brings up in his list of, like, these are the things you're never going to see again. One of the things is no kangaroo kicks. I'm wondering, are we going to see maybe a more aggressive MJF, or are we going to get a lot of, like, his early wrestling style with the company?
I think what we're going to get is an MJF that will wrestle his heart out. But I think we still get the smirmy asshole that will finger poke you or
we're still gonna get the heel shit because we got the heel shit when he was a face, right?
So I think I think he's going to tone it down, not in a bad way. He's going to tone it down towards like he's going to hit the moves that have the most impact. But I think us seeing running cutters to the outside isn't going to happen anymore. I will say that's one of my favorite spots of all time because I never have seen that before is the biggest thing. No, of course, no kangaroo kicks. I think he will bust out a dive occasionally, but I don't think it's going to be like a every single match type thing. Yeah. I think it'll be like, fuck it, I'm going to do a dive. It'll work, whatever.
And you know what I really, really want? This is my long-term fantasy booking. I want him because so this is where it's going to get really interesting is that now, obviously Roosh is his fight now, but there is definitely somebody he is looking to fight, and that is Adam Cole.
This is true.
But this will be interesting because it's a heel versus heel feud.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Kingdom is technically heel.
No, I'm thinking I reserve this for a very, very few wrestlers, mostly because the greatest to ever do it is retired now. I'll throw him in the anti-hero thing. I think he'll be a dick and a heel, but
the reason I say heel versus heel is the fact of like neither of them are necessarily going to within kayfabe fight clean.
Oh God, no!
But what I'm really hoping for is whenever those two cross paths to fight again, I want them to pull the emotional heartstrings of like one of them or the other one doing the moves that they only did with each other. Like I want Adam Cole to fucking hit MJ with a kangaroo kick just to fuck with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I think about that spot at Wembley, right, where both of them are in the corners, they point at each other, they scream double clothesline, fucking smoked each other, and then double counted each other out.
Yeah.
God, that match at Wembley is so good.
I think we get that again. I think because that's gonna be Adam's first match back. If there's no other match Adam's gonna do before MJF is the biggest thing in the world, because you can't be like, we're gonna do a little thing with you here. No. The moment that man is truly cleared outside of getting kicked in the dick, they're gonna go at it like fucking crazy.
I'm calling my shot now. And I've said this to you before, and I've said it, I'm pretty sure, on other episodes of the podcast. And I know we've talked about this a lot. I want the full circle retribution in that when the Undisputed Kingdom comes out to help Adam in his match against MJF, Bennett or Taven takes the diamond ring from Max, gives it to Wardlow, and later in the match, Wardlow sets that ring down and slides it to Max. Same camera angle that when Wardlow gave Punk the ring to beat Max.
Full circle.
I want that over 3-year full circle.
Full circle. Circle it back.
And it would be...
All you gotta do.
Oh, it'd be so good. And that is my Hail Mary shot. That's of everything I want out of Adam Cole, MJF in the rubber mat and the run back. That is what I want.
I will say the only annoying part is everyone wants that, but we don't know when we're going to get that is the biggest thing.
Nope. And it fucking bothers me.
Because it's like, did MJF come back because he wanted to come back? Okay, I think it's three things. Did MJF come back because he wanted to come back? Cole is close to being cleared, or Cole is nowhere near being cleared, and it's just like, but might as well bring MJF back.
Well, here's the kicker. He's not in a boot. He's not on crutches. He was not wheeled out there. He walked out. He did talk about, healing his ankle. But I also think it's smart to do this now. I think Cole is close to being cleared.
Yeah.
And I think essentially what you're going to have is, like, my guess is Cole is close to being cleared. Max was cleared. Mm-hmm. And now it's the idea of, okay, they're both close enough, so let's reignite the idea of these two.
Yeah.
Bring back Max, and then let Max build up a little bit. So the idea of, like, right now he's going to fight Roosh. He'll probably have a couple other fights in between there.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly... and I'll throw this idea out there because I've had this thought before too.
Yeah.
MJF teams up with a dejected Kyle O'Reilly, and they take the tag titles from Bennett and Taven. And that is the moment where you go, okay, you can't ignore me anymore because I took the thing you cared about and that we cared about, and it is mine again.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think the moment we'll find out where Cole is cleared, I think it's like, I don't think it'll be like talked about. I think it'll happen. I think it'll be, you'll probably have the Undisputed Kingdom take out MJF, set him up, do like the EVP trigger where they hold his arms back, and then he fucking hits the
boom.
The boom, yeah. And then
Well,
that's when, like...
And here's what I think is part of this as well. MJF, possibly O'Reilly, or just somebody takes MJF and somebody take the tag titles from Bennett and Taven. The next week, we get story time with Adam Cole, where it is Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Bennett, Taven, Wardlow. And it is a conversation of him being like, I am disappointed in how this went. I am furious. I am mad. And I am disappointed in you, Wardlow.
Yeah.
Because
again,
you were not there to stop that from happening. They turn on Wardlow and essentially eject him. And that's how we set up the moment of Wardlow will be the one to give Max the ring to get back at Adam.
Yeah, because it is shown in the past that already, like, Adam is not happy with Wardlow is the biggest thing.
Because the whole plan fell apart the minute Wardlow didn't beat Joe or didn't win the title. Right. And his only good grace is keep the belt on Bennett, Taven, and Roderick. Mm-hmm. And now Roderick's lost his belt. So now it's just Bennett and Taven he has to bodyguard. So if he loses them, and even worse, if he loses them to Max, and if he especially loses them to Max and Kyle, who turned down an offer to join the Undisputed Kingdom, it is the penultimate catalyst.
Yeah.
God, I'm so excited for these guys to be back, man.
It is something where you're going to get money from that feud, but the moment they are able to be back in the ring together, like going at it, that's the diamond ring, that's...
Yeah.
I will say, though, because we have a few matches already for Forbidden Door, because we're probably going to see, like you said, Roosh and MJF. I've run down the card for you guys, because we have 5 matches so far. We have the AEW title match. We have the TNT title match. We're going to talk about that briefly, because that's in a weird place. The winner takes all AEW TBS and New Japan Strong Women's Championship, the AEW Women's World Championship, and a singles match.
Yeah.
My favorite match on this card currently is... God, I don't even know how to describe this other than it's gonna be amazing. You got Zack Sabre Jr.
Sabre.
I because there's a guacamole product called that. I always see that and I always say that. ZSJ versus Orange Cassidy. The last time we saw the Orange Cassidy at a Forbidden Door, he just went balls to the walls with some guy named, I don't know, Will Ospreay.
Yeah, at the inaugural Forbidden Door.
Don't know how that match went. I'm confused. I don't even know where Will Ospreay is currently. Oh, I know where he is. He's gonna be facing Swerve in the AEW World Title match at Forbidden Door, because those two are going to fucking cook.
Oh yeah.
That's probably the match I'm most excited for, because if you listen to the podcast, you just listen to me talk in general. Nothing but positive things about Swerve Strickland.
Oh, hey. I just realized that wasn't the last time we saw him at a Forbidden Door.
Who, Cassidy or Sabre?
Technically both.
Really? Oh, was there a match last year?
I just looked, because I was like, I swear Orange Cassidy was in there. Orange Cassidy had a match at Forbidden Door 2023 in which Orange Cassidy, at the time, his international championship defense against Daniel Garcia, Katsuyori Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. They've crossed paths at this pay-per-view before. Now we get it one-on-one.
I'm genuinely sorry I forgot about that match. It's not that I forgot about... Not that I forgot about that match, but I just, I blanked it from memory. I could not tell you on another match from Forbidden Door last year, to be honest with you.
It gets fucking... Yeah, it gets weird. So, it's crazy looking at this, because so many of these matches, none of these factions fucking exist, basically, at this point now. It's insane. Oh my god, that's right. Because it was I forgot about the fact... I forgot forgot about the fact that Punk fought Kojima as the first round of the Owen Hart.
Oh, that's right.
Because, yeah, he rolls up as Kojima. Lariat. Yeah.
Kojima. Larry.
Yeah. MJF, champion MJF defeated Tanahashi. That
That's
wasn't the main event.
right.
Because Danielson Okada.
Never mind. I'm stupid. That's on me, guys. That's on me. Again, I just forgot about Forbidden Door last year.
Yeah, and then because that's Osprey Omega for the IWGP.
That's right. You know what I think it was? I think I had TNT that night. I missed that show. But you know what? You mentioned Okada. I wonder what he's up to today. Where is he at?
Dude, this man was gifted a Lamborghini last week.
Gifted a fucking Lamborghini because he's also with AEW. Oh,
dude, you know what? Okay, I gotta bring this up. The thing that caught me off guard the most from that segment of them trying to like just gift Jack Perry the TNT title is the fact that they all roll up in the ring and the first word said from any of them is Okada, who grabs the mic and is just like, "Shut up and listen, bitches." And I was like, what the fuck? Like, Okada.
I love that people in the US, like, because not everyone watches New Japan. That's just a given. Yeah. This is their exposure to Okada, and
it's my exposure to him too. It's
great. It's like your exposure to like they're knocking out of the fucking park with this man, and I fucking adore it.
The thing that I think it catches me so off guard is like literally like the first time, like if you're as a kid, if the first time you hear your parents swear in front of you,
yeah,
like it's the same energy, right? Like you're just like, whoa, it's so funny.
Because words don't have meaning until you give them meaning. And the word "fuck" for the first time is like, what is this? And then now you realize it's like the seasoning of life for any sentence ever. It's like sprinkle it in there. It's like now it's a powerful sentence. But don't say slurs. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that's just given. Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I will say I love the fact that they've now given like Christopher Daniels this new angle of like
I love it. Yeah,
him being like the interim like vice president kind of thing. So like, and I think it's smart because like. I think the best thing about that is him going, so anytime I make an announcement, it's coming from Tony, essentially, which is the smartest thing in the world to do because of the fact of a couple things. So Tony Khan has gone on record and said that he does not want to be an on-screen character because he wants the programming to focus on the wrestling, which is probably one of the few takes I can respect. And it's smarter now giving it to Daniels because Daniels knows how to present things to a wrestling audience because he's a wrestler, which means when there are big announcements from Tony Khan, he doesn't have to bug-eye into the camera for 5 minutes and tell us things. It can be presented in a much more natural way through Daniels.
Orange Cassidy has wrestled over like 200 matches for AEW, and I still think Tony Khan has done more bumps than that man.
Yeah.
There's a silly little joke in there somewhere. If you can find it, let me know in the comments below.
Goddamn. But yeah, it's just like I think it's such a smart angle of making Daniels like the voice of Tony.
Yeah, no, it makes entirely good sense. I will say one more match I kind of want to focus on before we probably wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about the TNT title just a little bit? Dude,
why did Copeland have to jump off of the cage and like destroy his ankle, man?
So Chris painted the picture of MJF earlier. I'm going to paint the picture of that title match. Johnny was doing D&D wrapped up. I came to Discord to watch, wrestling with my friends. It was really cool. The match was going really well, and then Copeland lays out Malachi onto a table. It's fine. It's whatever. He can do a top rope splash. This man begins to climb to the top rope, and then goes, fuck it, climbs to the top of the cage. Now, Adam Copeland has been wrestling since probably like 94, 95, 96, or the mid-90s.
Something like that, yeah.
He knows how to do a dive, right? You would think. He goes to dive off the top of the cage and decides to say, you know where all this weight would be great going to? My feet.
Yep.
And then proceeded to, I believe... do you know the injury?
It is... I don't believe it's broken. I believe it is a fractured ankle, but it's still
Yes.
out for a while.
Yes. I think it was fractured in like one of the worst places where they had to let like the swelling go down a bit before they were even allowed to operate was the biggest thing. And now, as of June 9th, uh, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 or 6 man TNT championship match for the title because everyone's competing for it. The men currently in the match are as followed. We got is it Mark Briscoe,
Mm-hmm.
Lee Moriarty, um, Dante Martin, a participant named later, and who I think is probably gonna take it is Takeshita. Because I just think Takesha's worth taking the title. I could be wrong
Yeah,
though.
well, I don't know. There's a lot of, again, the TNT title is one of those belts that, like, especially right now, you could legitimately give it to anybody.
That's true.
Because of the fact that that belt has so much more meaning now after Christian basically, elevated it so much higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things of like, he helped make that belt mean something again. So now it's a thing of like, anybody you give it to can have the potential of a really solid run with it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of who do you really want to highlight and elevate. Takeshita would be great. My issue with that is I don't like having a lot of belts in the same faction.
This
Like
this is
a lot of singles belts. Like I know Bang Bang Gang's got like fucking 45 belts between the three of them, but they're all for the same division.
this is true.
Right? They're unified trios titles, right? They're just carrying the acclaimed ones because it's funny to them, right? But
Yeah.
like realistically, they only have technically 2 sets of belts that I think are now being run as one lineage. So it's
Mm-hmm.
never going to be a thing of like, no one's going to challenge them for the ROH 6-mans anymore. They're going to just be after the belts, as far as I'm
Which
understanding.
I'm okay with. I
Yeah.
think like you said, and I would like to see a new champion. I'm worried Takesha's gonna win. I don't want to see a faction full of champions.
A faction full of singles champions gets really muddy because it's like now because now it's a thing of if you are a guy on your own, i.e. Kyle O'Reilly, how do you defend? How do you get a chance at any of those belts without the other 6 guys coming in?
Yeah.
Like
So
it builds that you have to have, there's the whole reason the Bang Bang Scissor Gang existed was the idea of build a super group so that you could fucking win anything. That was the
yeah.
whole concept behind it.
So I will pitch this. This is probably gonna be 6 men, right? Maybe 7. It's hard to say. I can't predict. So we're currently sitting at 2,
Knowing the
3.
history of AEW, it's probably going to be like 8 guys for the ladder match, most
So
likely.
we're currently sitting at 4 people. I will make a bold prediction. It's not that bold. It's just a prediction of one competitor that comes back and competes in this match. I think we see the return of Sammy Guevara.
Probably.
I see that just because he's been off TV a while. He was suspended,
Hmm.
but I think he's going to be brought back now. Again, that whole suspension is a big gray
Muddy.
area for a lot of things.
Yeah.
A, the move shouldn't have happened, but B, the referee needs to get in there and do his fucking
We've
job.
talked about this on a previous
We have.
episode when it
No, I know,
happened.
but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I think it's been enough time. But I think you have to stack it full of people that are going to do dumb shit is the biggest thing. And
It's a ladder match. You got to have the crazy guys in there, the
yeah,
crazy motherfuckers.
that's why you got Dante and Mark Briscoe in there. Mark Briscoe will fucking put a trash can on himself and jump through someone.
Yeah.
And Dante will do a fucking 630 off top of the ladder, possibly. So
I'm going
it's
to
like,
throw a name in there that I think should be in contention
mm-hmm.
because he was almost able to win it before, and I think he should have a belt at this point. And considering we saw him, I know he said he was going for the international, but like,
Mm-hmm.
give me Daniel Garcia, please.
That would make me happy.
This man needs a singles title desperately. He
I
is
I will
so underrated.
I will throw another wrestler in this hat. I think I think you're gonna love this idea, even though he did technically just lose a title shot for it. I think you throw Brody King into that match. either to win the match or for him to be the big motherfucker throwing people through ladders is the biggest thing.
Yeah, you got to have a couple of big monsters in there. I think realistically, like you could either just grab 8 guys that would make sense to carry the belt for a while, or you realistically, because again, so much of AEW is so faction heavy, right? Like you've got one from the Callis family, you have one from Top Flight. Hypothetically speaking, you possibly grab one from like Death Triangle. Like you grab all the groups that don't have gold right now, because now it's a scramble of like whoever has it, now your whole group seems better off. So like, give us one guy from Combat Club, give us one guy from the Callis family, one from Death Triangle, one from Top Flight, one from the House of Black, one from fucking, like you really could just grab one from every group and just.
I will throw one more in there because I think I would like to see him in this match because again, I would like to see him unless he's leaving is the biggest thing. Unless he's leaving, as we talked about this earlier. Ricky, or put Hook in the match.
Yeah, Hook would be a good TNT champion, honestly.
I think because again, he was an FTW champion. That's whatever. He had great matches. The biggest thing. He wrestled really well against Samoa Joe for the AEW title. If he's on a contract for a bit longer, just give him a chance with the TNT title. I think he'll make it work. He doesn't talk a lot. That's not a bad thing.
I'll throw a couple other interesting names in there. Eddie Kingston?
No.
Or no, he's injured. That's right. He's out with injury.
He's out till next July.
Yeah. Okay, scratch that. Honestly, put the scapegoat in it. Fuck it. If you were going to give him the belt, give him a shot.
That's the thing. That's who I genuinely thought was going to win the title. Is already. I think Jack Perry in the match makes a lot of sense. Set yourself on fire again, kid. Make yourself famous.
Yeah, I think Jack Perry would be a good one in there. And the other big one. What about Nick Wayne?
You say Nick Wayne. Hear me out though. You have Jack Perry in the match. Reunion. Throw. I'm not calling by his current name. Throw Luchasaurus in the match.
Put Jungle Express against each other.
Yeah, because again, they're two different entire entities at this point.
Yeah, they are
it's the biggest thing in the world. They are so far removed from
you saying that and me thinking back to when I started watching when they were the tag champions, and they're oh my god, they're nowhere close to the same people anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one.
Heels, but still, it's like you'll do that, them staring at each other, and then all those fucking core memories will flood to the front of their skulls and they'll beat the shit out of each other.
I mean, well, and I raised this fun question. Well, I raised this question. Darby's still cleared, technically, yeah?
Yeah, but do you want to give Darby the title as the biggest thing?
No. I don't want to give him the title. I want to put him, Jack Perry, and Sammy in a ladder match. And have 3 of the 4 pillars staring each other down.
That's fair. I will say this, and this is why I think Darby Allin will cheat death until the end of time. This motherfucker said one of the easiest spots he has ever done.
Was through a full pane of glass at Sting's final match.
Pane of glass, and his fucking cut was like the length of my arm, and he's like, "That was easy."
Yeah, he took the spot and he was like, yeah, it didn't hurt that bad. And then the medical team came over and went, bro, there's a hole in your side. And he goes, I didn't even feel it.
He's like, what level of adrenaline is pumping through your veins right now?
Yeah, honestly.
Fuck. I respect it though.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Man is insane, but he knows what he likes to do and he will do it till it kills him pretty much.
It is kind of sad to say that a broken foot took him out of action. It's the biggest thing.
Well, and it sucks because it's the worst part about it is you see the spot, right? It breaks his foot, doesn't get a shot at Everest, then gets hit by a bus, and then wrestles.
Hit by a bus because he saved someone else from getting hit by a bus. That's insane. That is the most Darby Allin thing of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel worse the broken foot sucks. Him missing Everest is worse than him missing wrestling.
Yeah.
Because like you have to wait for that to fully heal for you to get another shot at Everest.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the last time he talked about climbing Everest, he's like, I might not wrestle ever again, implying he might die climbing Everest. And it's like, okay, Darby, that's cool.
I mean, it's a reality with it, right? Like that is not an easy. For everything I've ever heard about it, man, Everest is not something to fuck with.
Yeah, that's insane to me. Do you have any final notes before we wrap up? Any wrestlers you want to give a shout out to?
I'm gonna bring up the one thing because I thought about this when we were talking about it. I think I can confidently say I think I know who my favorite wrestler is, at least in the broad stroke of it, because I have watched this man have to leave multiple times and come back multiple times, and I have the same excitement now as when I did when I first got introduced to him.
Mm-hmm.
God, hearing Adam Cole's music hit a Double or Nothing was peak. I need to go back and watch his old NXT stuff just to like be absorbed into a lot more of his career, because like that is a man that I want to learn from.
You found your Sting. That's what it is.
Yeah, pretty much, like, man.
I will say for this, for you found your Sting. I watched Sting my entire life basically, and it was either WCW, his short run in WWE, his run in TNA, or his run in AEW. Every time that music hit, goosebumps, because it wasn't a 24, 25, 26, 27, yada 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 year old seeing Sting. It was that 6-year-old or 7-year-old seeing some either rainbow faced or black and white faced wrestler come down from the rafters and be the hero when there was no heroes left.
Yeah.
That was the greatest thing ever.
Dude, that's why it hurt so bad when they finally made the turn with the devil mask, because like I knew it was coming, but the weight of that moment, I was like, I turned my stomach.
Because like every segment leading up to that, every moment with like him and MJF was must see. Hell, All In. Holy shit.
I honestly, because that is the one pay-per-view from last year I don't own because Luke paid for that one. I may go and just buy it on Fight because I want to go rewatch some of that stuff.
If you buy that, let me know. I will rewatch that as well. Because, again, I will say this because we could both talk about it like a length of time. I have never seen a storyline in terms of time, not in, but like, you know, the culmination of a lot of it. That storyline sort of like hit that culmination, that peak where they say, fuck it. This is worth more than the grandest prize in this entire fucking company.
Yeah, for Max to look at him and be like, oh, you only care about the title? Here, fucking take it. And for Max to say that is insane.
Yeah, he threw the fucking title that he worked so hard for, that he had to beat fucking Mox for. He's like, fuck it, take it. I don't want it. This is more than that. And I'm like, holy shit. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen wrestling-wise.
So good.
Wrestling is fun when it's good. Wrestling can be fun when it's bad, but I think wrestling is one of the best friend activities you can have, because you'll be surrounded by one person, 5 people, 20 people, or 20,000 people fucking cheering for 2 individuals to either hug, fighting forever, or in that case of MJF and Adam Cole, do a fucking kangaroo kick.
So good. Wrestling's so fucking dope, man. But that's where we will wrap it there.
Good.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and a comment as always. Subscribe to keep up on all of it. And we will see y'all in the next one.
Bye.